Well, hi. Hi, welcome everybody. And hello, Ingrid.
Hello,
Everybody, this is
Julie.
my friend Ingrid from the Netherlands. I love that we can talk to people all over the world and have these really interesting conversations. So, how are things with you?
How are things with me? Awesome is probably the best description. Yeah, how are things? Things are changing. There's so much going on in the world, and there is so much change available. Change as in, if I look at myself as in how I used to react and how I react, or maybe even not react, but as in, not reacting to something that's happening is also a reaction. And if I look at that, for me, there's so much more ease for me going on with things happening. I like that.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's funny. I was thinking this morning about that tool, interesting point of view, and how many points of view still slip underneath that. And it's like, if you think, oh, I don't know if I can get this done in time, that's an interesting point of view. Or if you're like, oh, how am I going to pay for this? That's an interesting point of view. Just everything.
Yeah, interesting point of view is just one of these things that there's like an unlimited amount of points of view that you can have, and you can change them. And it's I don't know, it's yeah, like you said, it's something where you can so strongly limit yourself and limit the possibilities that you have, and or the possibilities that you could be creating if only you did not have that point of view. It's like I believe it's a Chinese saying, I'm not quite sure. Everybody said it couldn't be done, but so-and-so didn't know, and he just did it.
It's so true. It's so true. When I first started my business many, many years ago, it was like 30 something years ago, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know how to run a business. I just, was an artist and started creating. And eventually I was like, oh, wouldn't it be fun if my product got on Oprah? And wouldn't it be fun if I was on a talk show, or, these questions? I would just throw it out there. I had no idea that I was creating possibilities, and my product did make it onto Oprah, and it went crazy viral. And it's like, when you don't have those limits, those invisible, like, this is all that can happen. When you don't have that, you can create anything.
True story. Absolutely. And where else am I still limiting myself? Where else are we all still limiting ourselves? And it's just like you said, there is, if you believe in yourself, and if you look at what's possible beyond the things that you know, beyond the things that you would see as possible for now, what can be done with that? What can be created with that? And that also accounts for these things, these moments where we think like we're sort of disappointed in something that happens. We have this point of view like, oh, I'm disappointed about this. But by being disappointed about something, you also stop the creation that thing could be. Because what if you were aware of future possibility that is way bigger, and now you see what is now, and you think, that's not enough, then you stop this future creation, and therefore you don't give it the chance to develop into that. So That's
Yeah.
that's one of the things I've been playing with the last couple of days.
It's so true. I do that a lot still, I have to admit.
Well, we all sort of have these things, don't we? And it's not wrong. It's just, if you notice that you're
Right.
doing it,
Right.
you can change it.
Right.
That's what it's all about. It's just noticing, oh, look at this, look at what I'm doing here. Okay, hey, cool. I'm stopping myself. Well, why would I be stopping myself? What do I love about stopping myself? Cute, not so bright. Let's
Yeah.
choose something else. And we go on.
Yeah. A lot of it, I think, is that we love that start energy, that creative burst, start. And so, then it gets to be like too easy or something. And
It is,
like
yeah,
to
it's
start again.
either that too easy, or that something where you've always been told that you couldn't be doing that it
Mhm.
would be too big for you, that there's no way that you could be doing that. And that's another lie. Dear,
Oops.
something fell over. It sounded like it was outside. So I hope it is outside and not inside. And even if it's inside, it happened.
To get better. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah. This morning I went on a walk and I was listening to the Maestro meeting that we had yesterday. And just when you expand and you kind of, you go beyond this reality and this just space in your head. And we were all doing a session on Dane. And so I'm walking and being outside in nature, and it's like, oh yeah, there's that moment between everything in this reality, like this is the street and this is a tree and that's the sky, but then you just become this space, and it's like none of those definitions are valid anymore.
true
And
story.
I love that that space where there's no points of view, there's nothing necessary, and then truly what's possible, what can we ask for from there?
Yeah, and that's something to play with. That's I don't know, that's like a little adventure that you can go on for yourself. Something I've been playing with just basically the last was it weeks or something. When I went on a walk, I would just look around and look at the trees and just see what energy is for a specific tree. And so I would sort of walk by and then would go like, okay, tree, can you show me what joy is for you? And just perceive that, or ask what is contribution for you, and then receive that. And then as you walk along the street, you notice that different trees have different energies. And then in the beginning, I was sort of boxing them in, like, this is a nice energy and that's a not so nice energy, and that tree looks like somebody with a weird haircut. And I was like, normally these people, I would have a point of view about that. And I was like, hey, but hold on, with a tree, it was so much easier to not have a point of view because the tree doesn't have one. So there's nothing to ping and sort of give them what they're expecting. There's no image from the tree. So it was such an eye-opener for me to go like, oh, cool, I can still receive from this. If I don't have a point of view about it, I can receive. I can play with the energies and I can see what's happening. And it was for me, that was just something like, I don't know, it was like an exploration, maybe. I don't know, like
I love that.
Yeah, and it's just so much fun to do that. I'd never taken the time, you know. I was always doing something or wondering about in my head, or fantasizing about whatever could be done, trying to solve riddles or whatever, um, and or listening to calls, you know, that
Mhm.
also, but always sort of, you know, not being present.
Right, right.
So for me,
Yeah.
the last few weeks have really been like, okay, if I'm going out, I'm going out. I have my phone on me in case I need to make a phone call, but it's basically it's in my pocket, and I am observing, and I'm continuously asking this question, like, okay, if I were fully aware and fully present, what would I be aware of? And playing with that, and
That's so cute. I love that.
yeah, it is so interesting.
It reminds me of when I lived in San Francisco in the city, and I used to go on morning walks and look at all the painted houses because they're all these pretty gingerbread, colors. And one day I went and I was like, oh, I just love that. And the house was like grateful. And I
Mhm.
got this like, thank you for admiring me kind of energy. And I was like, oh wow, that's cool. And like each house had a different energy, kind of like the different trees.
Yeah.
But you don't necessarily notice that when you're on your phone or in your head.
Exactly, exactly. It's I've done the same. I've done it with houses too. And I was noticing initially I was going like, wow, there's not a lot of difference in there. And then I thought, oh yeah, but hold on, how much are people trying to all be sort of similar,
Hmm.
to all fit into this straitjacket of this reality? Um, and to tick all the boxes that they've done everything right. And I thought, okay, yeah, could that be it? And then there was this one house, just like you said, this one house that was happy, that was sort of going like, hey, here I am. And it wasn't a very expensive house or anything. It was just a happy house with nice plants around it. And it was just cool, because especially that house, because it was different from all the others. That made me realize, okay, I am actually receiving and perceiving this. And it's it's that all the others are similar, and this one is the one that stands out. And that for me was also like, oh, that's cool. That's one of these things that I don't know, you see it so seldom, and then you really need to see the sort of the extreme things for you to realize, okay, this is what we're doing, and this is the exception.
Right. Yeah. Interacting with all the elements. Sometimes when I'm walking in the woods, I it's almost like playing a xylophone with the trees, touching their different energy, and you hear them as tones sort of. Do you ever notice that?
I've never tried this, but I do notice the difference between the trees, and I'm always playing with these energies. And I'm
Yeah.
going to try this, sort of make it like a real symphony, and
Yeah.
see what comes out
Like
of that.
going through the forest doing symphony,
Yeah.
and then like, oh wow, this one sounds different than this one, and just it's just cool. It just makes your whole being smile.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? And that's funny also, because you meet people, and you're walking the streets, and you have this smile on your face, and people are going like, hey, what's happening there? Which is also a fun thing to do.
Exactly. So you were saying something about um, purposes,
Yeah,
purpose,
the
and
purpose, the purpose. What's the
what is
purpose?
your purpose, or what is the purpose here? I can't
Yeah.
remember exactly.
Well, it's sort of yeah, it's sort of what sort of popped for me was, when you start a foundation class,
Mm.
you have this first chapter where it talks about the purpose of access, and what I find so inspiring is that the purpose of Access is not to fight this reality, not to destroy it, but to see what can be created. And that, looking at what can be created, sort of makes you look towards the future. It stops you from looking back at what is there and what is limiting you, but it gets you to look at, where am I going? Where are we going? What can be done? Not what cannot be done, because we all know all the things that we cannot do, or not allowed to do, or whatever. We all know these things, but what can be created? And that is something for me that, not having to fight, not having to fight reality, not having to fight somebody who has a different point of view. It's just a different point of view. Cool, it's a different point of view. Okay, so now what can we create? You have that point of view, I have another one. What can we create? What can we create together? And what can we build for the future? And that's something that is like, that's cool. Can we play with that?
Yeah. Do you have anything that you're facing now that has been kind of sticky in this area? Like something
Wow.
that you normally want to fight, but you're like, well, that's not working.
Well, one of the things that I mean, it's like a topic that I don't really want to mention, but COVID is one of these things where, like, there's sort of probably three groups of people. One that are extremely pro-vaccine and otherwise we're all going to die. And then there's this other group that if you take the vaccine, we're all going to die. And there's this group in the middle that's sort of like, yeah, I can see both. And now what do I choose? And for me, there is some truth in both ends of the story, not all of it, and but not having to fight this, asking the question like, so what can be created? Where are we together, and what can we create for the future? What else is going on that this is distracting us from? That sort of thing, like,
That's a big one.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
this is a huge distraction that nobody's looking over there.
No,
what
exactly.
else is going on?
Absolutely. That's one of the things. Nobody's looking at what else is going on. Well, you can't really say nobody, because there are definitely people who are exposing things,
Right,
talking about
true.
things, and there's more and more information surfacing. That was, well, maybe not common knowledge, let's put it like that. And so there is something surfacing, but it's something for me that made it a lot easier to deal with, to have a variety of people around you. Some of them who are really pro, and some of them are really pro for the other side. And that, for me, that makes it a lot easier to be able to go like, okay, so what are we going to create? What else is going on that's, that we're not putting our attention on because we're only focused on this? What can we create? How would we like the future to look like? Yeah, that's something that sort of, yeah, that gets me going.
Yeah. And it's funny because like both sides want you to align and agree.
Yeah, totally. And
so people are like a ping pong ball going back and forth between other people's points of view.
Absolutely. It's basically it's this huge, I don't know, I'm not sure what to label it, because the moment you label it, you stick it with something. Yeah. But it's extremely interesting to see what's happening. if you see it as something psychological, and it doesn't take away any of of the pain that people suffer if they lose someone through whatever reason, it doesn't matter. But there's still this option, like, okay, so what does this open up for the future? Where's the silver lining? Where's the possibility in this? And that's something that's, yeah, it makes for me, it makes life easier if I look at that. And sometimes I find that hard, definitely. And they're like, okay, so what's right about this? I'm not seeing yet. Where's the silver lining? What can we create it from this, where we are now? What can we create for the future? And yeah, I must say, I don't always see these possibilities straight away, but I still keep asking the question.
Yeah. That what else is possible is such a great question for literally any situation. And, there are times that we're going to feel stuck and at the effect and, in resistance to something. And if we just take a moment and ask, what else is possible? It just like gives you a little bit more space, even if you don't know what it is that's possible.
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
It's so uncomfortable to be stuck and contracted and like, so what
Absolutely.
else is possible?
It's just like you said, it gives you this little bit of extra space, which allows you to relax a bit. And once you relax, you can go like, okay, so it opens up wider. What else is possible? Where can we be going? What can we be doing? And yeah.
And then that little tiny crack, then like the universe can slip in some possibilities because you have this little tiny crack of opening. And then everything goes.
True. I mean, there are a number of people who just simply had to alter their way of living because they were making money in a way that was no longer possible since we all got locked down everywhere in the world. And I know several of them who have simply thought, okay, so this is where we are now. Basically, all my business is finished. What can we do? What can be created now? And some of them have really built up new businesses with the possibilities that are available now, instead of the ones that used to be available. And I asked some of them, okay, so what are you going to do when things will open up again? Do you have any plans? And they go like, yeah, we don't know yet, because yes, we could technically all still have the skills to do the old business, and we've also built up something new. So basically, we would have to clone ourselves and to do both. So they were going like, yeah, we don't know yet. Let's see what's going to happen, and let's see what the future is going to show us, what options we have, and what the time will tell us. So
it's just such a different space to be in the question and be open to possibilities and not have everything locked down and scheduled out and solid.
Yeah. Oh,
predictable.
Yeah, exactly. Predictable is also the thing.
Yeah. Gary's been talking about that for years, is that everybody is comfortable in their predictable reality. And it's almost like he knew that this or something like this was going to come, and predictable reality would be no longer. And he was like trying to get us to be more generative and, more creative, so that we could create beyond it and not be stuck.
Absolutely. Just think about the body processes.
Yeah.
It's, you know, Gary has always been talking about what would happen if, you know, hospitals are no longer available. And that was always his scenario. And basically, that's what happened. And
Yep.
yeah, it happened in a different scenario.
Yeah.
And still his scenario is also still a plausible one.
Yep. I have
So
practiced the DMMD to change any toxins in the water and stuff. I still do that all the time.
oh yeah, exactly. Especially DMMD. I've been DMMDing, I don't know, loads of stuff.
All kinds of things, and like little skin things, and you can just clear those things. You don't need to necessarily go in and get anything done with stuff like that. You can work on it on yourself and see if you can change it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But would our listeners be doing that?
Push those buttons.
Exactly. Yeah, where are they? Let me just.
They're like, what's DMMD? Oh yeah. Demolecular manifestation, molecular demanifestation, which is like talking to the molecules of whatever is created and asking them to change.
Yeah, cool summary.
Yeah, and anybody can do it, even children.
Children are even better at it.
They really are.
Yeah, they don't have a point of view.
Right.
They have not been taught that it's not possible, so they just do it.
We used to do like changing water to make it taste better, and I would do these little like 15-minute demonstrations at an expo, and I had these kids come and they're like, let's make the water turn pink. Let's make it be yellow like lemonade. And the adults are like, I'm trying to get it to be this pH instead of this pH. And I'm like, what if you just ask for it to taste good to you? And it's interesting, when there was no point of view, they could create it a lot faster. And we had pH strips and tested, whether it changed from basic tap water. But also the kids were able to make it pink, like not, hardly infused pink, but just this tint of pink.
Yeah.
And it was just so cool and playful and fun.
It's a cool one. And actually, there's a project that I'm sort of pondering about, to be playing around with kids and probably bars, but this would be a really nice one to add to it. And because they would all be eating there too. So what better place to play around with that? And the younger they are, yeah, the stronger the effects.
Yeah, but we can do it too. I mean,
yeah,
I went to, gosh, it was a long time ago. I went to facilitators in Australia, and they had this amazing champagne that had strawberry essence in it. So it was like slightly pink and it tasted amazing. And when I came home, I couldn't find it. And so I would just put my hand over and run DMMD and ask it to taste like that, strawberry infused. And oh my gosh, I could create it.
Yeah.
And make the bubbles smaller. Like if you've ever been served champagne and the bubbles are big and it's just not very good, you can change it and make the bubbles smaller. You can make the flavor better. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And what I find interesting is that we all sort of sit there with our hands above it. And do you really need your hand above it?
No, you can just do this,
Exactly.
And it's just happening.
Absolutely.
Wonder if I can make coffee taste like champagne.
I like Irish coffee.
Yeah, that might be harder than, you know, taking champagne and making it better.
Yeah, that's hence the suggestion for Irish coffee.
Yeah.
Is to add a little flavor to it.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, it was fun to chat.
It was,
It's coming to
definitely.
the end of my 30 minutes, and I have another thing that I do at 10. So we need to wrap up, but it was really good to see you.
Likewise.
And thank you for opening up possibilities for
Anytime.
us and for everybody.
Anytime, absolutely. It was great fun to do this. So cool. And cool
Awesome.
idea. So thank you for the invite.
Yes, well, thank you for showing up, and I will also share this recording on YouTube, and you can share it wherever. And hopefully people will keep choosing more possibilities. And how does it get better?
How does it? Enjoy the day, Julie.
Bye.
Bye.